All right. This is the funny part when they make you turn the camera sideways. And so, yeah, I'm sideways. So I'm going to try to look at the camera versus looking at the screen. Hey, guys. I've been so busy and traveling and networking and really pushing for our event that we've got coming up January the 21st through the 25th. If you've not gone to urbangamechangers.com, please sign up. It's free. Please spread the word and let's talk about reparations. A lot of people have a different scenario, opinion about reparations. I'm going to show and tell you my historical findings and viewpoints. And then I like this to have a discussion if anybody's out there. I know this is late at night, but this video is very important, so make sure that you take the time and read it. Hey, Lucius, how you doing? Lucio, I know I'm saying your name probably wrong, but hey, um, you in Texas? Ooh, now go ahead now get that brisket and them ribs because they are good and briskets are good in Texas. How you like my blonde? I decided to go blonde. I think I'm gonna take this and go more lavender. What do you think? I'm gonna go more lavender with this one, and I won't always wear this one, but I just kind of like told myself I'm gonna kind of change it up. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Oh, okay, border town. Well, good. Thank you for chiming in. I'm gonna go ahead and start talking about reparations. So in 1865, we've got to go back that far because people talk about reparations and they want to talk about the American Revolution. So in 1865, Abraham Lincoln, after the Civil War, created a thing called the Reconstruction. The Reconstruction had to do with the Civil War and it had to do with the slaves and the colonists. Because at that time, those were the two people that dominated this country. Of course, there were the Irish, but it was also the slaves that built and developed this country. And the war was ugly. The North and the South were both tired of fighting, and it had come to a bloody end. And as you know, the Union won and the Confederates didn't win. Or did they? That's the question. So in 1865, Lincoln put together a thing called the Reconstruction of America. And he had a bureau like the FBI bureau called the Freeman Bureau. Write this down. The Freeman Bureau, what the Freeman Bureau's job was to do is what maybe a FEMA would do today, which is basically house, educate, feed, clothe, and restructure and reconstruct. Because at that point, we were devastated. We had people slaughtered. We had no ground we could see on the ground. And they had all these broken down mules. And I mean, blacks and whites were dead. It was a very ugly, bloody war. The Civil War was an ugly war. So Lincoln says, let's do a reconstruction. And they had a thing called the Special Order. And you can look this up. And so William Sherman was a general, William T. Sherman, but in this special order that the African American descendants of slaves, ADOFs, will receive compensation. And that compensation was 40 acres in the mule. And the 40 acres was on the line of like South Carolina, Georgia, that area right there. A lot of where the Geechee people live. Study the Geechee people. They're very interesting. And all the land that they have over there. So they allocated land towards African Americans. They allocated mules because of the Civil War. So the Reconstruction was moving forward. Then Lincoln died. 1865 shifted black people and shifted America. And so when Lincoln died, that was promised. That was promised by Republicans. Now write this down. I want you to understand that the Republicans promised reparations. We call it reparations. It wasn't called that. It was called Special Order Number 15. That's what people aren't saying in the black community. I want y'all to realize that. It was not called Reconstruction. It was called Special Order Number 15 under William T. Sherman and Lincoln doing the Reconstruction. But when he died, the vice president became Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson was a Democrat. This is important. And that Democrat, that Dixiecrat that was with the Confederates, made a decision to say, oh no, honey, we are not going to do that. We are not going to let those Negroes get that land. So they reverted back a lot what that proposal had intended to do. which is to give land and mules and basically reallocate these people as humans. Because you remember, black people were treated as subhuman, as they are today, but they were really treated more as animals. We were below a horse. So the president, now Andrew Jackson, was angry at the war. So he tried to kind of correct some of the things that the unions had promised the blacks, even the black soldiers, of what was supposed to be given. So we didn't get 40 acres and a mule. What we got, write this down, was the Freeman Bureau Bank. Because many of the Union soldiers that served, the generals and a lot of the leaders were wondering, well, what are you going to do with all this money you're getting from the war? I don't know. So they created these banks called the Freeman Bureau Bank. And they put money in these counts. Thousands and thousands of dollars of money in the Freeman Bureau banks. Did they get the 40 acres and a mule? No. They got the banks so they can go ahead and create their lives. Now, there's two types of Negroes in America today. Write this down. I call them the Freeman Bureau generational people. People who, like my parents, grandparents, I was brought under their thinking. And then there's the people who are from the Great Society. Those are the generations of people who have parents who are governmental systems, programs, third and fourth generation welfare recipients, third and fourth generations of WIC recipients, going back to the Civil War. Now we have the Freeman Bureau Bank. Many blacks at that time were working people. We developed things. We owned our own schools and stores and markets. Why? Because we were in the service industry. We served people. We developed, we did accounting, we did nursing, we did all of that. So it was very easy for our culture of people to acclimate themselves into the system of working and owning our own now. We owned our own stores and schools and markets. That's where you come up with Madam J.C. Walker and a lot of things that you learn about in that era. Just a lot of people were doing extremely well. But what happened was white people became jealous. And you can see a really great documentary. Go to PBS Black Business, The Boss. I think that's the name of it. By PBS. They really give you a great breakdown of that scenario. So black people were working in schools, markets, stores. We were managing. We were thriving. But what happened again? The federal government and racist white people intervened, and they took that bank away from us. And they started raiding. Basically, they raided the bank, and that bank had to foreclose. It got so bad that the president at that time, because Andrew Johnson basically got impeached, and they kicked him out, the radical Republicans, because he was so horrible. And we were still a divided nation of people, even though we came out of the Civil War. We were still disdained by the war and still angry with each other. And the people who had their slaves and had free labor had to learn to work on their own. I mean, there was a lot of hatred and jealousy, and people weren't happy. There were people who were happy the war was over and sad it was over because their lifestyles were dramatically changed. Can you imagine having all these humans do these things for you, and you no longer can enslave a nation of people, and you've got to either pay them or do the work yourself? So when the Freeman Bureau Bank folded, all that money that should have been given to the, remember, if you have family members that served in the World War One, the Civil War, the first one, they probably had money in that bank because they automatically deposit money into those banks. Okay, there's a reason why I'm telling you that. There's a pattern. These are all ADOS, African American descendants of slaves, slaves who went through the Civil War, slaves who lost money to the Freeman Bureau Bank. What happened after that? Then in 1877, the Union, the feds and the Union, the federal government at that time said, you know what, we're going to pull out of the South, because they were still fighting, inner fighting was going on politically with the positioning, because now Lincoln is gone, with the Republicans and the Democrats. And the radical Republicans who were more supportive of Lincoln were losing power. And so they compromised with President Hayes. With the compromising of Hayes, black people in the South were no longer protected because the Union pulled out. The Republicans, the Union that won, and left, and the Dixiecrats and the Confederates be able to regain the South in 1877. What did that do for black people? It was devastating because it diminished our existence numbers. We were one time more than white people in this country. That's how many blacks were on the ground. To the point that we only got 13% right now. That's why Planned Parenthood was put into place, because we dominated as a culture of people in this country, physically and emotionally, and we helped keep it going. But I want you to understand there are systematic things that have been put in place to not only destroy us against each other, within each other, but also underlying to leverage against us. So now the Union pulled out, and then social Darwinism came into place. A thinking of the smartest beam, the greater beam is the most powerful beam, and it should be the dominant beam, meaning human being. So whites began to think in a manner of what? Ku Klux Klan. So the Democrats, the Dixiecrats, created Klansmen because they couldn't have their Negro slave anymore. The Union was out, and the Negro was unprotected. So they started lynching and killing and shooting and all kind of stuff. And Jim Crow went along for a long time. Okay, set my batteries. I'm good. Jim Crow went along for a long time. And then after Jim Crow, what we end up having was a understanding of the civil rights, the voter rights, and the Great Society. Now, this is where history becomes kind of twisted for me because, we also had Black Wall Street and everything. The point I'm trying to make to you is to understand there's patterns, right? We had slavery, then we were free. Then we were promised 40 acres and a mule. We didn't get that. Then we got the bank. Then we put our money in the bank. Then they raided our bank. Then they did Black Wall Street. Then they did social Darwinism. Then they did redlining. Then they did Jim Crow. Then after Jim Crow ended, then we had the civil rights. But then the civil rights were abused now. Everybody wants civil rights. The gay woman, the the gay man, the white woman. All these people all want civil rights. And then we were given voter rights. But then everybody wants rights. Even illegal wants rights now. So what does all that mean? That means these people have leverage emotionally, financially, and politically against a nation of African American descendants of slaves. The reason why people are talking in the black community about reparations and people do not understand, saying, I don't want to pay you, I will say to them, you don't have to pay me anything. This is the federal government. Because other cultures of people are leveraging right now. The Chinese right now had an executive order through Trump called economic empowerment. It was either May the 2nd or the 12th, one of those times, in the month of May. Look that up. Chinese got economic empowerment. The Native Americans were able to excavate oil off of their land with President Trump. Under President Obama, we were able to see the Hispanic community working with Wells Fargo, get $125 billion towards illegal immigrants and immigrants for the next 10 years for housing and for schooling and for cars and anything to help build a community. 10 years of $125 billion allocated through Wells Fargo Bank for Hispanic people. And people want to know why Mexicans are doing so well. So when you have foreigners and leveraging against you. Thank you so much for the donation. I get those too often, so that's like, wow. Thank you, Stephen Scott. When you have foreigners leveraging against you in this country, and you don't understand why, because many of you guys are young, and you're saying, what did I do? Why do they get a better shot than we do? Why are they getting better rights than we do? It's because they're able to leverage. When you have elderly family members who have 2 and 3 properties, and they can sell one and then give the grandchildren $10,000 or $20,000 as inherited money, or money they get from graduating from college, or money they get as a wedding gift. That's an opportunity of leveraging and repositioning opportunities for yourself. And I'm not hating, but I want you to understand African Americans don't have that leverage, because every time we start to rebuild our own platform, there's people who come to pull the rug from underneath you, historically, emotionally, politically. So what happens is we don't even talk about the consciousness of unconsciousness with one another. We are tied into the emotional garbage and bullshit of the Democrat Party with the Democrats and the Dixiecrats. And even the Republican Party under President Reagan, who basically gave amnesty to millions of illegal immigrants that moved into urban black communities that disemboweled us as well. They came into our communities and they got our schools and our stores and our markets to the point in California. I remember when my sons were younger, honey, you know what those people did? They came into our community and they had half the class in English and half the class in Spanish. I was pissed. I said, why is this half class and half English and half Spanish? That don't make no kind of sense. But it was very clear to them because they want to make sure that they leverage those people against you. So now we're in 2019. We keep talking about reparations. I want reparations. I want a check. I clarify things with people. First of all, are you a descendant of slaves? Can you trace your ancestries back? How do you do that? ADOS, Ancestor.com, legacy tree, genealogy, and DNA are two different things. Genealogy is when they're able to say, you know, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your great-great-great-grandmother. You've put their years in where they were born. You can look up military records for the men. Some of you guys have family members that served and you don't even know it. The National Archives have a lot of that information. Let's go back to the Freeman Bureau Bank. The Freeman Bureau Bank in 2000, under Congress, thank God for J.C. Watts and two other Democrats who decided to archive the data of all the Freeman Bureau people who had money. Now, to me, there should be a federal lawsuit against that because they took those people's money and they have the data of the children, heirs who were never able to acquire leveraging opportunities that other culture of people can do. Because other cultures of people are able to do that through a process of leverage and positioning. See, it's not always about education. It's who you know, where you live, where you network with. Today I was, I'm in, where am I at? I'm in Newport Beach. No, I'm in Dana-Point Beach. I'm so tired. I'm in Dana Point. I was with Mike Tyson at a fundraiser today. And I networked for Urban Game Changers. I'm needing money so bad to make sure our event this month goes off really well. So make sure you guys go to urbangamechangers.com. Thank you for the support and the thumbs up on this video because I know many people have been asking about me doing more ADOS videos. And I know you guys watch Tone Talks and Antonio and shout out to Afro Synergy News and Phil. All of us have different perspectives. I'm just going to show you and share my historical perspective from the past till today because I want you to realize don't feel bad about yourself and don't feel because you black or you African American descendants of slaves and you see other people doing well that you're incompetent or you just you're not smart enough to do what they do. No, they are leveraging against you, intentionally or not intentionally. They're able to do it through inheritance. They're able to do it through positioning. They're able to do it because of where they live demographically. They're able to do it because they know certain things and certain privileges because they've been able to get that through leveraging. We, on the other hand, are constantly fighting to make sure that rug doesn't get pulled from underneath us. And when it does, do we stop? Do we give up? Because there's another generation below you that needs to be inspired. So I want to encourage you all, because of technology and us having a voice on the table with each other, understand that it is historically sad but true that government has intervened in our life since conception of 1619 when the War Dutchman brought 20 Africans here as commodity. You are not an immigrant. You are not a illegal immigrant. You are a commoditized good, trades, and service. And they still do that today in privatized prisons. They still do that today in Flint, Michigan with dirty water. They still do that today by allowing people to be doing huge hangouts in Baltimore, Detroit, Chicago, Los Angeles, having no plan or execution to reestablish or reinstate people into doing something of service of good and deed in this country. But instead, because of the Great Society under Lyndon B. Johnson, he has dismantled us. He has put us in a position where we are so dependent upon systematic things, we don't even understand entrepreneurships. We don't understand LLCs and S corporations. We as a culture and a people don't even commune with that thought in our head. Finding OPM, other people's money. Instead, when I hear young people talk about, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to get a small business loan, that's more debt. More debt. Let's get a student loan. That's more debt. You need to get a trade. Get you a trade, 6 months, get that trade, pay off your debt, and then build from there. You need to have low debt ratio and cash flow. Low debt ratio and cash flow. What does low debt ratio mean? That means that your overhead is cheap. You don't have to impress nobody and no thing. You don't need to have no overpriced mortgage. You don't need to have no overpriced apartment. You don't need to have no high-end car. You don't need to be spending money and partying and smoking weed all day. You need to be investing for your future and find a way that you don't have to work in the next 10 to 15 years. That's where cash flow comes in. Take that stress off of yourself. Stop playing the damn victim card and be smart. You know, if you can't afford the high-end wigs, then get you some Wish wigs, whatever you got to do. You can't afford high-end clothes, go to the thrift store. Come on now. Let's talk. You know, if you can't afford really good in food, go to Food for Less. Go to 99-cent stores. Some of them have markets. Cut back on some things. Don't eat out every night. Don't drink Starbucks every day. Start thinking smart. Don't tell people all your business. And stop opening your mouth. Shut the fuck up sometime. Just listen. And then watch out for the cuckoos and people with strange ass energies. Learn to discern the energies in the room that you are with. And if you're the smartest person in the room, then get the hell out. Because you need to find people that can elevate you to the next level. That's why you need to be at our event, August the 21st to the 25th in Virginia Beach at the Founders Inn. If you go to urbangamechangers.com, you will be able to meet me, Phil from the Advice Show. We're getting confirmation from LBJ, I'm tired, ABL, which is Anthony Brian Logan. Afro Synergy News will be there the next day. I mean, we've got some great YouTubers and people with grassroots on the ground. The conversations will commence where we need to know who we are and where we're going. But if you don't realize the value, I want you to value you, because nobody's going to encourage you. You get a couple of good words, but nobody gives a rat ass about you. You think people care about me? Look at my numbers compared to everyone else. And a lot of people say, you give great information. But I don't let numbers determine my self-worth. Not these numbers or numbers online. I know my worth. I know what I bring to the table. I know what I'm able to execute. The question is, do you? Do you really know who you are? Do you really know what you can do and what God has a plan for you? Do you have a spirit of discernment, or are you just so anti-God and anti-religious and all of that? Because you need a balance, spiritual, physically, and financially. African American descendants of slaves have gone through a lot, from 1619 to the Reconstruction of America of 1776 to 1865 of Lincoln, through then we've come up to 1877, where we find out the troops pull out the South, and then Jim Crow starts up, to all the way to 65, and interesting, right? When we deal with King's death, Kennedy's death, and the Great Society that came in, and basically I think Lyndon B. Johnson set up for failure with all these damn government systems, and then they deregulated and desensitized us by having to segregate ourselves. They segregated us, desegregated us, and made us become assimilated with everybody else. But you notice how the Chinese didn't do that? You notice how you go through all America and you can find your little Chinatown, and how they don't force themselves to learn English, and how they help themselves and still have China to go back to. That when the Africans came here, they shaved all the black women's heads to the point you didn't even know what continent you came from. They stopped you from speaking your own language. Ghana and Nigeria and Kenya, all those people have different languages. They took all that away from you. So now, thank God, through DNA and genealogy, we can kind of discern a little bit of understanding of who we are from an African nation of people. But you have to understand, you are an American first. Doggone it. And so don't tell me about how, well, I'm not going to vote and I'm really African, I'm going back. You do you, boo boo, but make this clear. 400 years of someone dying and sweating on the road, I'm going to get my shit. I'm going to get mine. You need to get yours. And you need to base it on the premises of everything I just told you. And talk about redlining, talk about Black Wall Street, talk about the Freeman Bureau Bank and the funds that were taken out, that you can go see those archives in the National Archives. You have the right to do that. Thank you so much, Pam, for putting that up there. Urban Game Changers conference.com. Make sure you guys sign up. It's free. I love you, Mama. I know you called me. You can call me later on. I'm actually in Dana Point. I attended Mike Tyson fundraiser event trying to get other fundraisers. I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart. I don't get paid for promoting videos. I don't get paid. I'm not like Candace Owens or any of those people out there. I fund myself. I work for myself. I'm not criticizing those people. They do what they do, but I'm a sister girl. I'm a sister girl. I'm not sister sit down and say, let's go have some $2 chuck, okay? Have a simple glass of wine. Let's talk about what's going on. I keep it 100 and raw with my people. So if you want that kind of sister talk, if you want to be around brothers like that, then I'm bringing men and black women together. I'm looking for strong black men because I'm just so tired of California with all these emasculated black men. When you're with a man that talks more than you, you need to tell that bitch to sit down. I'm like, what is wrong with this black man? He talks more than I do. What the hell is that shit about? Oh, I know I'm drifting. But, I mean, really, y'all don't know. We in California. Some of these men, ooh, they special. Black men are special in California. That's all I can say. And Hollywood loves to just emasculate black men to the point that you don't have no black man with masculinity. They more feminine. And the women are like, hey, how you doing? But when you're a strong black woman, then all of a sudden you like women. I said, no, baby, I'm strictly dickly. But you need to know who you are. I pivoted, right? I'm sorry. I want you to feel strong and competent and encouraging from now to 2020 to 2050. As long as this video is up. If you're able to watch this, no matter what decade or what era, these terms and opportunities still arise, but it starts within you. It's a mindset. There are people in this country purposely trying to destroy you mentally. Their energies say you're less than. These little foreigners come here, 5'2", little Mexicans come up in me. I just stand next to them. I'm like, what the hell are they looking at me like that for? You expect me to put out an energy of submission to you when you are walking on the bloods of slaves. Well, my people work hard. No, your people are greedy, and you come here for free shit. That's what you do. You come here for free shit because it was up to me. The federal government should cut all of you people off and make you work hard for everything and not get any free government programs, because those government programs through those great societies have been detrimental in the urban communities today. So anyway, let me say a couple shout outs to people. I know it's getting late, and I thank you guys for being on. It really means a lot. I think abortion, yeah. So if we were talking about abortion, Planned Parenthood, that's also a tragedy because they want to affect our numbers. They don't want us having babies, but don't you find it interesting how Planned Parenthoods are in the Hispanic community, how Planned Parenthood's not captivated in Catholic churches? See, all that's a strategy to destroy you, my people. All that's a strategy to take you under so that you don't work together. Don't you find it interesting that when a brother tries to work with his girl and she starts talking about, I don't have to do nothing with you, because she gets a check from the federal government, from the Great Society to help women with children, but then when he comes back home from prison, he can't go back into the house? That's all strategy to conquer and divide us apart. Because any other time she'd be saying, oh no, you're going to come here and take care, this is your child, and you need to take care of him or her, and you got to work with me. He can't even do that, because if he's caught in the house, society will cut off her check. See, all that strategy of conquer and divide, we have to sit down and look at laws that are divisive against us, number one. We need to sit down and look at laws that are not in place for us through legislation. We need to create our own legislation. You can't give money to us and then all of a sudden we give it to the Korean people. We give it to the Chinese man. We give it to the Armenian man. Because we don't have infrastructures to recycle the dollar within the black community. Come on now. I mean, I listen to these people talking about, oh, if we get money, we can do da-da-da. No. We have to build an infrastructure. Listen to what I'm saying to you. I know I make sense to somebody. We got to make an infrastructure to make changes in our community. But if we're not developing an infrastructure, if we don't have infrastructure to have things in place, so when that money comes, we are training our own people to go to each other. You know, when the Mexicans sell all that nasty shit downtown LA and have filmed, the only people buying it are their own people. Their own people buy from their own people to keep a recycle going, and then they do remittance, which is sending money back to their country because they have not mentally or socially allocated themselves into this country. They have not acclimated themselves, meaning they have not established themselves here. They always talk about, my country is so wonderful and I miss my country, but I can't make money there. Well, you know, see, you shouldn't be able to make money here either. You shouldn't be able to make money, not the way you're making it here, and then you don't have it recycling. So what happens is our personal infrastructure, listen, I'm trying to teach you something. This ain't got nothing to do with race. I'm going to show you how money flows. When you go buy stuff and you spend it in your community, that's a tax dollar for your county. That county's infrastructure, fix the roads, the water, the school boards, the fire departments, the police service, the sheriff's departments are all covered under county money and tax dollars. But when you have these people do this underhand bullshit with being paid envelopes, and then the black people get paid with checks, and they take federal and state and all these different fundings, that local tax and bullshit tax out, and they don't get none of that taken out. They send that money back to their country. And then we realize we're short dollars on our local county problems, that we have local county monies aren't bringing enough money to offset the beat up roads, the bathrooms, the public spaces, the public parks. What happens? They raise our taxes, but the money is really actually there. It's just not being recycled. And the reason it's not going to be recycled is because of the infrastructural breakdowns of monies, because other cultures of people with illegal immigrants and immigrants are not acclimated here. They send the money back to their own country. That's just not helping America at all. Okay. Okay, so you're talking about, someone says that is not so true. Black, let me help you out. Black, it says being black does not stop black people from being successful. I never said that being black stops you from being successful. I don't think I said that at all. See, this is because you don't listen. But I'm going to keep reading your question. My brother, roommate, is Pepperdine, were black. And they all were very successful. Of course, they were from Ghana and Nigeria. Well, Ghana and Nigeria are immigrants. They come here and they get special programs. They get special funding. They are able to leverage. You must have not been here earlier. You need to watch this video from the beginning before you strike against this queen, because you will be cut. So let me help you out. And I'll be nice because it's late. Nigerians and people from Ghana and all these countries that come here have always felt they are better than the African American descendants of slaves. And I think there's a time that we need to try to work together to build the diaspora of our people. And Phil has taught me that. Dinus has taught me that. Because I'm very, very pro ADOS. Before it became popular. Because I was talking about African American descendants of slaves. I've been on YouTube since 2009. So you can watch my videos. I mean, I have the numbers of all these other folks, but I've been talking about it. But the problem with immigrants who come here is they don't want to work with us. The Nigerians and the Ghana people, they go within their own communities. Now, I'm going to tell you, in California, they have little Nigeria, little Saigon, little everything, but they don't want to work with the African American descendants of slaves, but they also are able to leverage because they get certain governmental programs. African Americans of two generations, if you were watching the video earlier, I told you, they're those who are of the Freeman Bureau era, who came out of slavery, whose parents came out of the Civil War, who came out of the industrial era of knowing how to work. But after Lyndon B. Johnson became president, you have 5 and 6 generations of lazy ass motherfucking niggas. Excuse me for cursing. Because they get free shit. All you free shit niggas, that's why you are jealous of other free shit niggas. Because you don't understand one's worth of who you are. Are we divisive towards each other? Yeah, the generation that's like that and that's all they think about, absolutely. They get free education, they get free university. What does any of that mean when you can't turn that to dollars but debt? High debt ratio will not move you forward. I said that earlier. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm trying to say. Come on now. Folks need to pay attention. Come on, Pam, tell me about it. Ain't that Willie? Yeah, it is that Willie Lynch syndrome. That's a whole nother. We need to do a show on that one, huh? Who said that? Oh, yeah, Lucas, we need to do a show on that talking about Willie Lynch syndrome. Anybody want to talk about Willie Lynch syndrome? Put that in the comments below. Let me know because that is a conversation. Maybe we'll talk about that this month because we don't talk about Willie Lynch syndrome. We talk about Jim Crow, right? We talk about slavery. We talk about reparations. But these systematic ideologies that have been put in writing, these systematic ideologies that have been kind of subliminally put into people's minds, I call it embedded racism. That shit is real. It's real. So it's the leveraging the opportunity and the things that are out there that are destructive and divisive. What about bipartisan people that only have one side of reparations? Come on. Hold on. I'm trying to read some. That is such a bully. Lyndon B. Johnson was one of the most. Yeah, he was horrible. But we need to first we have to look at these are laws that are in place, right? Hands getting tired. These are laws that are in place in government that we need to change. So we're talking about reparations, but we got to stop. We talk about reparations because we want money and stuff, right? Everybody can agree with that. Hands up. I look at it this way, but you've got to stop not just the holes in the boat, but the continual things to put holes. You got to stop building the bullets. You got to stop putting holes in your boat. That makes sense. Meaning that there are programs and systems out there that will not allow us to heal. So even if I give you everything that we've asked for, let's say we get reparations. Let's say they gave us $40 trillion or $40 billion, right? Like $1.25 billion is given to the Mexican Americans. Let's say we got $1.5 trillion given to the African American community. What good is that if you've got holes in the boat? Meaning that there's systems designed against us. Reparations are designed against us, meaning that infrastructure where we aren't being hired, where we have these Hispanics all in the urban communities. We can't even start our own businesses. They are redlining. They are discriminating against us. Systems designed that if black women try to start a hair company or sell hair, the Koreans have captivated that and they're doing all the distributing, right? And they're not allowing us. They want us to just do wholesale versus being a distributor and access to it. So there needs to be a strategy thought through this versus saying we're strategizing to have a voice at the table with Sheila Jackson's proposal to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. There ain't no talk. You need to sit down and have a proposed idea put down. You don't need legislation to talk. You don't need legislation put on the table to legalize an opportunity to put it on the table. Why don't you do an executive order like the Emancipation? The Emancipation was an executive order. I don't understand why people don't understand U.S. history. They need to go back and do their homework. I don't think Mexican entrepreneurships are discriminating internationally. Well, I'm gonna tell you, they discriminate in L.A. because they tell you straight out they don't want to hire black people. When you give El Salvadorians, Guadalajarans, and all these people coming over to my baby's not taken care of. Well, you should have kept your legs closed, number one. This is my opinion. You should have kept your legs closed, number one. Number two, you should have stayed in your own country and caused a revolution. So when Trump said they bring their weak, their poor, and their unwanted, he ain't lying. Because real strong people fight and cause a revolution in their country. You don't want to do that. You want to impose your values, your needs, and your wants under someone else's Jewish district and under another country's regime and power for your best interest. That's a ludicrous, crazy person. And the crazy ways in this country to cater to people who abandoned their homeland and won't start a revolution is ludicrous on our part. African American people need to wake up and start harvesting and taking care of their own, because we are not valued as human beings or as people in this country. I'm sorry. That's just the truth of the matter. Look at the homeless people downtown LA. Look at the people that try to get good jobs and start business. Look at all the black businesses that have been taken out. Urban communities transcended with people from Islam and all these, Sudan and Syrian people. Well, you guys didn't want it, so we took it. That's not true. You displaced us, and you were able to get leveraged against us through funding, federal funding. This is why it's important that we have this conversation. Again, Pam, can you post it up there? UrbanGameChangers.com conference. You need to be there, because the understanding of power positioning through federal funding is what we need. We need the federal funding to stop the bleeding, but we have to be careful, because if we have not sat down and built an infrastructure of protection for ourselves to tell us where to go. Look, think this through with me. Just think this through. Don't go nowhere. Listen to this. Think this through. The Indian people have all these hotels, like not the smaller ones, like let's say Quality Inn, those little cheap hotels, Economics, the 6 motels. All those Indians got the hotels. The Armenians have all the gas stations, right? The Vietnamese people are doing your nails. The Korean people are doing your hair. Don't you see these are patterns? These people come here illegally or legally, and then they acclimate their people. They give them money. Here, go start your restaurant. Here, go start your hair salon. Here, go start your, buy the franchise of your hotel. Y'all don't see these are patterns of these culture of people that are leveraging opportunity through America, through trades and goods, and then they block you. Meaning that they dominate the industry so strong that they don't want you in it. So subconsciously they're saying, why are you here? And you get an uncomfortable feeling. They may not verbally say it to you, but ethically and morally, this is wrong. And you've ever been in a room and you're the only person there of black or of a mindset that's saying, why are you here? Majority of people here are Indian. And you want to get in the nail business? Well, that's mostly Vietnamese. You don't need to do that. That's not American. I didn't grow up like that. These people didn't dominate industries to the capacity they do now. You go to 7-Eleven store, what do you see? I'm the bone. Yeah, those people. I said it, I don't give a crap ass hell. I'm tired of everybody, you offend me. Bitch, you offend me when you came here and stepped over my grandmother's grave and won't even respect the African American descendants of slaves. Black people are hurting in this country. They don't give a rat's ass about no niggas bleeding or homeless on the street. They step over you and have their Starbucks and go, I got mine. So it's unhumane. It's uncivilized. I'm done. So I'm putting this event together to bring us as a nation of people together. Y'all need to put down the differences of if you like Trump or don't like Trump or I'm not going to vote. All you have is a vote and a dollar. This country is ran by money and numbers. So when I hear people say, I'm not going to vote, that's why I'm different with Phil. I said, okay, then don't vote, nigga. I'm still going to vote. I understand the importance of the power to yield. Yield your power to those who value it. Don't give up your power. Too many people die so you can have that power. Power in numbers where we grow. And if we can grow our numbers, see, they attacked our money and our numbers. 2 things they attacked, right? They ain't burning your house down. They're not taxing you to death. They're trying to do everything they can to do that. But you know what I mean? The number thing that they attacked you through was what? Numbers. How? Leveraging, dismantling governmental programs, having all these amnesty people and all these foreigners come up here and take all the infrastructural jobs that we did all of those jobs those people are doing. But they basically have been replacing us. And now we're on the verge of extinction. Now they're telling us we don't even need to vote. No, we need to vote so those bitches know we can shift races. We can shift the country. We can shift our communities. I want you to be empowered. I want you to be strong. I want you to look people in the eye. I want you to look them in the eye and you own who you are. Look them in the eye. Look at them. And don't be intimidated. And don't always talk, because silence is power. Some of you talk too damn much. And some of you men talk more than the women. I said that earlier. That annoys me. This brother going, and let me tell you, sister, your head's moving too much and you're doing too much. I don't care if you're gay or not. Get control of yourself, fool. Shit, you got some tick-ticks going on. Get your ass together, nigga. Shit. Too many people. We need some real men out there. I need some real men in this country to start manning up. Stop punking out on my fucking ass. I'm tired of you people. Some of you guys are bitches online, bitching about bullshit. Some of you talk shows. Get it together and be a man and lead. Some women want a man to lead. They don't always want to lead. We need strong leaders. We need confident men. We need men who are educated, self-educated. I don't care if you got no masters in doctrine. When you talk and you make sense, you get people's attention. Same thing with the women. Don't be intimidated. Don't be mean to some of these brothers. You know they may not be at the same level you're at because they get beat down more than you do. So sisters, let's start trying to help some of these young black men and help each other out. But you get these folks, these foreigners and Africans and all this stuff. What about us? Then you need to go help your people. You're an immigrant. You're an immigrant and you're an illegal immigrant and you're from Africa. I'm not criticizing you. You have wonderful opportunities. You can go to your country and try to help us. Instead of telling us how great you are and how much money you got. I don't want to hear how well your situation is because of the displacement of a federal government that destroyed us. Hell, you're able to live your life because of the slaves. So let's keep it moving and keep it real. Why do feminists, this is for me, why do feminists, I'm not a feminist though, promote bonding between whites and black women? They're not black and white men. You know, look, feminists are very special breeds of people. I don't even know if they're human. They believe in emasculation. They believe in lesbianism. They believe in gender neutral. All that shit is just cuckoo for Cocoa Pops. Look, I'm old school. You got a dick and you got some pussy, right? Excuse me, I'm late, I'm tired. But you know, really, it's black or white. Red pill, blue pill. What is it that you don't understand? You want chicken or beef? It ain't that complicated. These people have complicated things in your mind. It's like fool's gold. Like, you know, what you're really saying. And they talk a lot of stuff and you sit back and go, this don't make no sense. It makes no sense. The nonsensible people, get them out of your life. If you're confused, walk away. Don't feel dedicated. Don't feel like you have to come up with a solution or any answer to their anarchy. Because sometimes they think they want to show you how smart they are and they be going on some kind of shit. You be like, what are they talking about? You don't have to know. Just know in your spirit it don't make no sense and say, you know what? Boo-boo, I respect your view. I just don't agree. And when you say you don't agree and they have a conniption fit, walk away. Walk away. Walk away. All right. Oh, somebody said, Emma said, I'm a real man. Well, honey, I like that. Go on now, I'm a real man. He said, my brother said, I'm a real man. What is that? What does a real man mean? Somebody tell me. I want more comments on that. What's a real man? One that doesn't talk too much? You got to be more than that. You hold down. What's a real man? You know, I want to know what a real man. Okay. Shirley said, Shirley without the Y, said, did anyone see that House pass a 67? Hold on, I know my phone's getting real low and hot, so I might not be able to stay up on as long. If I do come back on, I may come back on, but it is getting late and I need to go to bed. Let me answer this one last question. To pass a 76 million tax bill for gays for injustice happened to them. Nancy Pelosi celebrated on July 24th. That was a quiet bill. I didn't see that bill. Was that a state bill or was that a federal bill? Two different. See, this is the problem. This is why I created Urban Game Changers. The states are devising against you. I'm going off, you guys. Good night. Oh, you're going to be like, no. No.